Hello, everybody, and welcome to Geopolitical Trends, where truth matters. Excited to be with you. Got an interesting topic for you. This one has to do with our neighbors to the north and the south retaliating or hitting back at Trump's tariffs. This is what I'm going to be talking about. I am not going to be addressing it from an economic perspective, believe it or not. I will touch on that briefly, but I am looking at something else completely different, especially with our neighbor to the north, Canada. And this is what I intend to address in this particular live stream. So let me just share some housekeeping stuff quickly here before I launch into it, because there's a lot of moving parts that I need to cover. First of all, make sure to join me on Wednesday at 17:30 for my upcoming interview with, I have a picture of Giant right here. Yeah, Giant Bahandari. So he's a frequent guest here on the channel. So I look forward to my conversation with him. So make sure to join me on Wednesday at 17:30. So the other things I want to share with you is what's going on around the world. There are three main events. As a matter of fact, one of them I am trying to confirm the information, and if it is, I might make a live stream for you about it. This one, the first one, has to do with right here. This one. Now, a terrorist meets a butcher. You all know the story of MBS, what he did to Jamal Khashoggi, right? You know, this is not a surprise. This is nothing there. So anyway, the Saudis now welcomed what's his name, the Al-Julani, who is now the interim president of Syria. So makes you just wonder, is this a subtle way for the Saudis to say to Al-Julani, do not create any tensions for the monarchy here? It's the same argument I will make about Qatar making a trip to Syria to meet with the guy. Are all of a sudden the Gulf states wondering about the survival of their regimes? Makes you just wonder, because this guy, Julani, is the one we propped him. I mean, it's not a secret, guys. It's not a secret. We all know the U.S. intelligence community, the CIA, finally funded and trained and provided whatever for the guy, and that was part of the deal. So, but he's like a dead man walking, basically. That's what it is. So I find it very, very interesting that he is in Saudi Arabia. So the second one has to do with this one, and I'm trying to confirm it, and I will do a live stream for you because I wrote a book about Russia, as you know. But I addressed also during that time the meeting that took place between Donald Trump and President Putin in Helsinki way back, and I addressed some really key issues regarding the U.S. foreign policy towards Russia. Well, now there is a possibility that these two leaders might end up meeting, and guess where they might end up meeting? Yeah, and this is what I need to confirm to you guys. I'm not sure yet, but no decision has been made yet. Either meet in Saudi Arabia or in United Arab Emirates. And that's no coincidence, by the way, guys. It's no coincidence that the meeting is going to take place there. I bet you. So I'm going to be looking into this and make a live stream for you guys if you want it. And the last thing I want to share with you quickly here, this is Marco Rubio, and this, very interesting. This is his trip to none other than Panama. I'm going to read a sentence for you, okay? And I need you to tell me in the chat box what is the keyword, okay? Once again, this is regarding the trip of Marco Rubio to Panama. Here is what it says. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has demanded that Panama makes immediate changes to what he calls the influence and control of China over the Panama Canal. What is the key word in that statement? I'm going to repeat. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has demanded that Panama makes immediate changes to what he calls the influence and control of China over the Panama Canal. What is the key word there? There's one keyword. Oh, Alistair, you got it. Flat Earth, you got it. Dave H, China to a degree, but Karakulak, you got it. Seymour, you got it. It's demand. And that shows really, really that we don't care for the sovereignty of Panama as a sovereign state. I do not anticipate good things with this guy now being in charge for what lies ahead. Even North Korea today just issued a statement about what Marco Rubio is saying regarding North Korea. So anyway, I just wanted to highlight this quickly before I move on into my analysis here. Let's start with the question here, guys. And I'm going to ask, like we always do, I'm going to ask the question is, will Canada follow through with its threat now to impose tariffs? I mean, we all know, is Canada really strong enough to take a stand against the US? Maybe this will prove it, maybe not. But again, my advice to you guys, don't jump to conclusions, because all this, before we know it, could be nothing but just some sideshow. Yeah, don't be surprised. So, second question, like I said, is this a sideshow? I mean, I'm familiar with the dynamics of how we deal with so-called allies. And sometimes when a public statement comes out like this, we do have other sort of agenda behind the scenes, behind what that statement meant and so forth. Third question, is this coming at a time where the economic conditions in both countries, but mainly I'm talking about Canada here, how bad they are? To my Canadian viewers, and I know Phil, you're from there. I know some Amanda from Canada, and all of you guys, you'll be a better judge to share with the community what are really the conditions in Canada, or how the conditions in Canada are. I am aware of, like, for example, housing in Canada. It's to the roof. Canadians can't afford now to buy a house. Poverty is going up. Inflation is going up. So makes me wonder about the conditions. So, and it was a typo here. I was typing so fast here. Let me fix it here, because that's not right. And I meant to say tensions. There we go. We'll fix it. So and the fourth question is tensions. Will these tensions between Canada and the US expand to the geopolitical realm? And this is exactly what I'm going to be addressing this from, because on Thursday, guys, on my other channel, make sure to join me there, because me and Elizabeth will be there. We're going to be talking about this economic tariffs and so forth, but there is a key aspect to it, and this has to do with China. So make sure to join me and Elizabeth on Thursday for live stream over there. But for this one here, I'm going to be addressing some aspects of the economic, especially for Canada, and I'll highlight briefly about China and Mexico. But my focus is going to be about Canada, but also on the geopolitical aspects of it. Well, we all know what President Trump, President Trump, whatever term you want to use. Well, we all know that after there is now a barrage of condemnation that is now sort of all hitting at the U.S. President Donald Trump, following his decisions on Saturday, because that's the decision was made, and tomorrow these tariffs will enter into effect at 12:01, based on my resource that I checked and confirmed. So this condemnation from around the world, it's like, what's wrong with this guy? Because the imposition of tariffs, stiff tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China. So, and the thing is, especially for Canada and Mexico, that this tariff is going to include largest suppliers of goods, also for China. So, very, very interesting. And this is where, at least for now, Canada and Mexico decided to join hands and retaliate against the United States, mainly Canada. So, and I'm going to be sharing a clip with you. But before I do this, guys, I want to tell you to subscribe to my channel if this is your first time here, Because here's the thing, the analysis that you are hearing on this channel here, you are not going to find it anywhere else. And I don't shy away from saying this. I know what I'm talking about. I built my credibility over the years. So I'm not talking on the top of my head. So if you are learning and enjoying these free episodes here, I will greatly appreciate if you could subscribe and share this with people from around the world so they can have an opportunity to hear the truth like you do. And thank you for your support. So, all right, let me start with this clip here. I'm going to share the screen with you, and we'll just go from there. And please give me a thumbs up if you can hear, because I want to make sure.
But it doesn't have to be this way. As President John F. Kennedy said many years ago, geography has made us neighbors, history has made us friends, economics has made us partners, and necessity has made us allies. The actions taken today by the White House split us apart instead of bringing us together. Tonight, I am announcing Canada will be responding to the U.S. trade action with 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods. This will include immediate tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods as of Tuesday, followed by further tariffs on $125 billion worth of American products in 21 days' time to allow Canadian companies and supply chains to seek to find alternatives.
All right. Very, very interesting. And here is even what's very interesting, that one of these tariffs is going to be because Canada now is saying they will cut off oil. They all know we get oil from Canada. And there's a pipeline that is in the northwest part of the United States. This is what the major drilling used to be and so forth, the Keystone Pipeline, to those who are familiar with this. I'm not going to be focusing on that much. What I found very, very disturbing is that I did dig into information regarding this to make sure, and I saved the link, but here is what happened when you click on that link. Take a look. This is what happens. So they removed that one because it's touching, and this is what I'm saying. Sometimes it's a little bit very tricky, very odd how to navigate this kind of waters, because what administrations say versus what they do are the opposite. Not all of them, of course. I shall not generalize, but we all know how it is when it comes down to Canada. And this is where I'm going to divide this analysis here into three sections. One is Canada, of course. The other one is China. And the third one is Mexico. But the last two, I'm going to just be talking briefly. I'm going to focus on Canada here. So like what you heard on the clip there, 25% tariff is going to be imposed now against the United States for 155 billion Canadian dollar, or 106 billion dollar of US goods. So this is where I believe, and again, to those who are advising Mr. Trump, they need to take stand and explain to Mr. Trump, who might not understand, even though he just came up yesterday and admit, yeah, it's on a record, and admit that these tariffs he's gonna move forward with is gonna increase prices for American consumers right here. We're not even talking China yet. We're not even talking Mexico yet. We're talking Canada right now. And this is why the two, Mexico and Canada, decided to join hand and sort of push back against Mr. Trump. And I give, by the way, credit to this photo to Bloomberg. And I had to read that. I read the article for it, and it's going to be sort of highlighting the key. This is the border between Mexico and Canada. And once again, we give credit to Bloomberg. So the concern now is that the idea of retaliatory measures now by Trudeau, Now, Trudeau is going to be leaving office because he resigned. So he's due till March. Do you really think that Trudeau cares for Canada? Because if he would have cared for Canada, he would have taken care of Canada the last 2 or 3 years after he did the damage to Canada. Dictator Trudeau is no angel. Let's just put this on the second thing. Is this announcements by Trudeau is nothing but for domestic consumption, no more, no less. Because after all, you and I know Canada will not do anything that the US doesn't authorize. So you're gonna hear the statements now coming from Ottawa. Oh, we're gonna now target the goods, the American goods, including clothing, sport equipment, household appliances, and so forth, with tariffs as well. But is he really? Can he? Is he in position to follow through? What do you guys think? Because I like to get your input into this. Do you think Canada will follow through with this threat of imposing 25% tariffs on American goods? Let me just see in the chat box, yes or no, please. And I'm not saying, so Q, you say no. Karakulak, you say yes. Alstalokin, you say yes for a while. Disciple Christ, you say yes. Dave H, you say no. Abdul Fall one, you say yes. Yeah, it's one of those, because for Trudeau, he is caught between a rock and a hard place. His image is already tarnished in Canada after what he did to Canadians. You all know what happened during the COVID time, right? You all know the policies that he enacted, which, by the way, he was ordered by the previous administration right here in the US to do so, which I believe those who were in charge of that hoax right here in the US should be in jail to begin with, including the president himself if he violated the law. And that's what I'm saying. So is Canada in a position to do what it says it's going to do with this tariff? So, but of course, the key question, the key aspects that I need you to understand, especially for my American viewers here, you need to understand how this is going to impact us. You and I, we live here in the US, has going to impact the cost of the food we buy at the grocery store, of the gas pump we get at the gas, because if Canada limit the flow of oil, we are screwed. Because here's the thing, what you need to understand is why President Trump, already announced that he's going to pressure OPEC to lower prices. Was this a calculated move that it is expected that Canada is going to retaliate for the US imposing tariffs by cutting off oil? Because we get oil from Canada. A lot of people do not know Canada produces oil. The Keystone Pipeline, that was the whole reason why we established it. Of course, when the incompetent Trump, Biden, well, Trump is no different. I don't shy away from saying it. I mean, Mr. Trump does not understand where he's leading us to. And as a matter of fact, I feel comfortable now saying, and if I am wrong, I'm wrong on my own. I feel comfortable saying that this term of Mr. Trump, it will be the nail on a coffin for the US foreign policy, period. In other words, our place on the global stage will be done for within the next 4 years, meaning starting now with President Trump. That's how I feel. That's how I see it going. So, and again, so far, anything that I've been talking about when it comes down to geopolitics and global affairs, we're spot on to a degree. Did I miss something here and there? Yes, of course, because the dynamics of geopolitics change on a daily basis. My motto, geopolitics impact your daily life. I didn't say impact your yearly life, your daily life. This is one example. Should Canada move forward with cutting off oil, we're going to see the prices in the gas pump jumping up. And this is why, once again, Mr. Trump's trying to influence OPEC. OPEC's not going to listen to that. Even if OPEC does, OPEC Plus is not going to agree to that, which is Russia. And this is why This is why the reason I shared the beginning with you with that picture is this part of the deal also for this upcoming meeting. And I am trying to confirm everything for you before I seek inclusively. That's what it's going to be. But it has to do also with energy right here in the US. Rafael, I want to say thank you, brother. As always, I'm so grateful for your support, and I want you to know that. You wrote, do not worry about Trudeau. Ford is the one we need to pay attention to. Rafael referring to Ford. Ford is like who is he? Like the governor of Ontario. He's a big player into that. Now, Ford's been in the party and politics for a long time, and he is a heavy hitter inside the Canadian politics. So the Green Party leader is not playing around, and the PM of Manitoba. Yeah, so you're absolutely correct, Rafael. And once again, thank you very much for your support. So we have to understand that the idea of this tariffs that the US is imposing on Canada, and Canada is kind of retaliating for this, it becomes now the question is, are the Canadians going to just take it? Because I'm not going to deny it. We always look at Canada as our next state. Though I call it the 51 state? No, because that will be degradation for the sovereignty of Canada. But on the other hand, is Canada a sovereign state or sovereign country? Yeah, it is on the paper. But when you still fall under the British rule, come on, and you follow the US dictates, you'll remember Meng Wanzhou, right? The financial, the CFO of Huawei. Why was she detained in Canada? It's because we gave the order to the Trudeau administration to arrest her when she was transiting at the airport. So if a sovereign state will receive an order like that, why the heck will I agree to what you are demanding? Doesn't matter we are allies or not. This is the same argument why I shared with you that picture of Marco Rubio and saying that we demand. Yeah, what an arrogant prick. We demand Panama to reduce China's influence over the canal. Wow. Who are we to dictate to the rest of the world? And this is what I'm saying. I am feeling comfortable to say that we are coming to probably the nail on the coffin once Donald Trump's tenure ends, because the world, I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I think Mr. Trump doesn't want to come to grip with the reality that the time he's in now as a president is different from 2016 when he became president for the first time. I'm convinced about that, and that's usually very dangerous, to be thinking of this hyperbole, high sort of hubris of that we are the best, I am the best, I am the more powerful, I am. This is no different than what Prime Minister of India is saying, that India is this greatest power or great power, whatever. Come on, get real. So, and Trump, I don't think so he's getting it. So, and because here is the thing. If you are to go ahead with these tariffs on both ends, what is going to do? Tariffs against Canada will put your job, meaning this is for the Americans that depends on certain parts coming from Canada. We're looking either at shutting down some assembly lines in Canada. And what the Canadian workers going to end up doing? Canada is no different when it comes down to its debt. You look at the conditions of the country where it is. And that is one of the reality that I don't think so Mr. Trump has think through before this decision. So, because if you are to look at it, and this is where I'm getting into what I want to cover into this one here. If we are to go with this possibility of tensions between Canada and the United States, this is on an economic front, will this translate or impact the geopolitical realm? Because Canada always follows the United States. Look at the history. Just look at the history. When I say the history, I am referring to the global engagements, global affairs, that is, geopolitical tensions in parts of the world. When we went to Afghanistan, for example, and I was there, and I used to see the Canadian with their Canadian patch for their special ops and so forth, and we will talk to them, whatever. Of course, some of them didn't realize that I'm an American, just I looked different to them, and they thought I was like from some Middle Eastern country, whatever, till I had to shock one of them, and I said, well, if I were you, I will talk politely at least. I am your neighbor to the south watching you back. So be grateful. And he was like, oops, I'm sorry. I said, well, don't judge a book by its cover. And that's kind of gets me on the edge, because to me is that assumption of assuming somebody looks the dark hair and dark eyes, all of a sudden we think of him or her, some other race or what have you. So, but in any event, what I wanted to highlight with this point is that when we went to Afghanistan, we told Canada, you go in. No questions asked. When we start to send in ammunition to Israel during the Gaza, we told Canada, no questions asked, send in the ammo as well. That's what I'm saying. Will this sort of impact the geopolitical trajectory, which means that Canada will say to the US, no, we're not going to do this, or we're not going to follow you on that, whatever. Even in Ukraine, because here is what's coming. Trump has already made it clear. He's going to hit Europe hard with tariffs as well. So, and that makes you just wonder. So, and that's why the point that Raphael mentioned about Ford, his name is Doug Ford. He is the Interior Premier. So, Doug Ford, he is pushing by saying, we have, and I quote, we have no choice but to hit back hard at the Americans. So, but again, I can't trust what Trudeau is doing, because when it comes down to Trudeau, he's leaving office anyway. The damage is done to Canada. Will be this just as symbolic, just to show the Canadians, oh, I am tough, I can do this, I can do that, when in reality, there's nothing you can do. We dictate the terms. You know, even for NORAD, you all know what NORAD is regarding the defense of North American system stuff. And if you want for the America, well, Canadians are part of it, but we dictate the term. So this is why Donald Trump feels bold enough to say we should take Canada as the 51st state. Yeah. Will he do it? I don't know. So, and this is where the idea of, you think about gas. This is why I found it very ironic that they took out that, they took it down, that article, because he had a detailed information about, and I'm going to try to locate another one similar to that. As a matter of fact, the one I played the clip from, it's from a different article. So, and this is why I need you to just understand, for my Canadian viewers, just expect that you're going to see a rise in prices. Same for us here in the US. Americans are clueless. And wait until the Europeans are hit hard. So, I mean, you look at what the UK economy, and I think I have Hang NG. It shares a lot with the community here, guys. That's why I can't stress enough to read his comments. He wrote, and I quote, in 2021 and 2022, this is regarding the UK. UK GDP growth was fractional, which means UK inflation was running at a double digit. We are looking at a compound negative from 2021 to 2024. So the current year, 2025, is not looking good either. Trade wars, tariffs, and sanctions in the US, Canada, Mexico, EU, China, and BRICS are throwing all obstacles. So the Trump 2 era is not looking good. End of quote. Thank you for sharing this, Hank. Spot on. Because Europe also now is going to be dealing with the outcome. And this is where those policies that usually Canada supports the US is going to be put to test. And I don't know. At this point, I don't know. But I am leaning more towards Canada will toe the line regarding the geopolitical matters, or regarding, for example, NATO. It's what we dictate to Canada, not the other way around. So let's move on to China, and I'm going to touch briefly here, guys, because I said I'm going to be addressing this in my other channel on Thursday in detail, and even highlighting some key aspects as to what the possible scenarios that China is going to embark on. China has already had a strategy in place. And to China is like most Americans, once again, do not get it. Do not get it. You sanction China, we're going to pay the price here. Simple as that. Excuse me. And excuse me. And this is what it's going to be now. Whether this conflict with China that is starting now on trade is going to deepen to other realms. And I think you will, especially in the geopolitical aspects. Because if you look what we are planning on doing in South China Sea, on the Korean Peninsula, in the Philippines, in Australia, in Latin America, you will get the idea. Even in Africa, we're trying now to find ways of how to get in. We're going to be impacted here at home. So there is another aspect that I believe the let me silence this here. There's another aspect that I believe the Chinese Ministry of Commerce brought to the surface, which a lot of media did not talk about, is that the idea of the US going on this rampage of tariffs violates international trade rules. Yeah, you don't hear much, because here is what I expect. You know what I expect? Is that China is going to take the US to the International Trade Court. And rightly so. You know, you're not above the law if you violate international law, which usually we do. And that is where you're seeing the need for this cooperation rather than butting heads. It's not going to serve anybody, except it's going to hinder our ability to be able to afford items, whatever that might be. It's the consumer that's going to be paying the price. Because once the tariffs are imposed, what do you think corporations is going to do? They're going to pass on that cost to the consumers. So the one thing that China has learned from the first term of Trump is that this showdown, it's going to have to be stopped quickly. China's not going to drag it, because it's not to the benefit of China as well, you know, and especially because of where the issue with China regarding this, besides trade. I mean, will China need the US market? Maybe, maybe not. But China is not about this one. China is about what the US is saying regarding fentanyl. Well, here is the thing, what the Chinese finance ministry is saying. Fentanyl is America's problem, end of quote. And I have to agree. I mean, if you go out, you see the massive usage of abuse of drugs and so forth. You know, why are we shifting the blame to other countries instead of taking responsibility? Yeah, if you create jobs for people to find work, if you create a good infrastructure for people to work and so forth, they're not going to be looking for drugs. They're not going to be looking for whatever. And this is where I think dealing with China in this way, it's not going to bode well for Mr. Trump. So regarding Mexico, Well, suffice it to say, and which I am yet to confirm this one. And this one has to do with the decision that now, it's not confirmed yet, guys, but I will share it. It says, and I quote, Trump confirms suspension of Mexico tariffs for 1 month. Just this morning. And I can't confirm it yet, but I want to share this with you. It says, and I quote, US President Donald Trump confirmed on his Truth Social platform on Monday, today, that he was immediately suspending a 25% tariffs on Mexican import that was set to go into effect on Tuesday, tomorrow. Now, makes you just wonder about Trump. Is all this for a show? Because remember, Trump is a showman. Trump is no politician. This is not how you conduct yourself on the global stage. The arrogance and this threat, this picture, by the way, give credit to Al Jazeera. This idea of bullying, if I may use the term politically speaking here, other countries, no, the world has changed. And what makes it even more concerning now is that Trump has his sights on BRICS. He wants to sanction BRICS. This is one of the topics I'm going to be addressing with my guest on Wednesday, Jayant Bahandaria. Will be addressing this one, particularly when it comes down to India. Yeah. So for Trump to say, well, I'm going to sanction BRICS, sanction them for what? Because they don't want to use the dollar? Because here is the hard truth. Our strength, where does our strength lies? Does anybody know? In one word, guys, can you type in the chat box? Where do you think the strength of the US lies? Let me see in the chat box. Just in one word. Oh, thank you so much for your super sticker. Phantom of many topics. Should Canada and Mexico join BRICS? Great question. Great question. I will be the first one to say it'll make perfect economic sense for them to join BRICS. But again, in the case of Canada, will its master allow it? That's what I need to, because I can, yeah, that's the way I see it. So, Rafael, once again, man, appreciate you, man. You said, Prof, we are making a big mistake. The other countries think that the US true values is around 20 cents. Soon they are going to ask us to balance books. I see your point, because our books are not balanced to begin with. It's because why? We printing so much and we're just shifting in the balance sheets. I don't know how they work it out. The Federal Reserve, how it's working that out. I have no clue. So, which is not right to begin with. And I think that's you spot on, Rafael. And thank you so much. This one here, Tyrone Smith. Thank you so much for your super sticker. You wrote, how would you suggest that the US reorganize their production and resources to provide the necessary work and alleviate the drug addiction catastrophe? Very, very interesting. First of all, thank you so much for your super sticker. Very interesting question. Now, will I know how to answer it? I am not a sociologist. This will be for a sociologist. But for me, as a geopolitical analyst, I can tell you that once what I learned from traveling around the world, what I learned from my own writings, from my own publications, from my own research and so forth, if you wanted to develop a strong economy, you build the infrastructure that can sustain that economy. What does it start with? Start with the major roads, major bridges, improved airports, railways, and then you move into, once you have that, the transfer of goods and all that, it's easy to move around. Then you restructure the tax system. I'm not saying, yeah, when you look at here, the tax system is broken. Let's just be honest about it. Ask the millionaires how much they pay in taxes and ask the average citizen. So that's one. Second, you're going to have to invest in the education system. How can you keep up with China, for example, in technology, when you don't produce STEM students, we don't have enough. We don't have enough. The student generations here in America is so intellectually lazy. And I don't shy away from saying it. I used to teach in the classrooms. I used to deal with the students directly. And if I challenge them too much, that becomes an issue. Yeah. That's why I left the university I used to teach there, because they wants me to tone it down. In other words, you have to talk softly to the students. I don't do that kind of nonsense. You have to tell them the way it is so they can understand and get it. So if you improve education, that will translate to. But when we have education that is transactional, look at the universities, look at the cost. It's all about transactions. Students getting degrees that they end up not using them. So where is the strategy of the government? Where is the government in all this? Why the government doesn't rein in those universities and force them to cut down the cost? You take the example of Harvard. Why should we give Harvard part of our tax dollars for it to conduct research? We give Harvard about $123 to $128 million a year out of taxpayers. Why? Harvard is a private university. They can do their own endowments with over $800 million. So why? Until we do this, Tyrone, and for all of us here, guys, nothing's gonna change. It's because the system is corrupted to its core. So, and this is part of where those problems that most of us Americans are not willing to face. So what we end up doing as a country first, as a government too, and as a society is we end up shifting the blames to others. Shift the blame, because that's the easy way out. So when you hear Mr. Trump saying, "Oh, I'm going to impose tariffs so I can bring the jobs back," there will be no jobs. Stop lying to the people, man. But again, people are easy to consume whatever they are fed. It's because they don't possess the depth in thinking, challenging the narrative that the government is saying. Why do we even need such a large government to begin with? So, and even if I am to challenge anybody from here in the US, tell me, for the out of 70, is it 72 or 78? I couldn't remember exactly. Executive orders that Trump signed. Which one of them reflects on the welfare of the American people? Please tell me. I know he's doing the things about immigration. I know they're rounding up illegals, whatever. Why don't you do that quietly and take care of that business and focus on what is sort of beneficial to the American people? Like, for example, cutting taxes on middle class. Like, for example, forcing the entities to sort of raise the salary for the average people who've been working, put in 40, 45 hours a week, only to turn around and pay between 28 and 35% of their money into taxes for the government. And let alone the government doesn't even spend money on the appropriation, on the programs that benefit Americans. Look what the previous administration did, spending almost $200 billion on Ukraine. Why the heck are we worrying about Ukraine? We created the problem by design. And this is why Europe is going to now face the reality, face the music, as we say. Could it be the same argument made about Canada? Is finally dictator Trudeau's waking up? Well, it's too late. You already dug Canada into a hole. Same for Europe. So it makes you just wonder why Mr. Trump decided 25% on Canada, 25% tariffs, that is, on Mexico, but only 10% on China. It tells you the story. It tells you the direction there. You know. Even what what's his name? The Marco Rubio is saying about the idea of China now needs to stay away from Panama. Wait a minute. Who the heck are you to dictate the terms? And isn't that a free world? You can compete if you want to. So why all of a sudden Canada or the US or China rather, I'm sorry, China will have to leave? No, they're not going to leave. Why? And this is again where you realize all we're hearing, it's nothing but just to keep the masses confused. So that's all it is. Because here is the thing. Here is the thing. What the Narco Rubio is not disclosing is that China has the means to block US merchants if it wants to. But it won't do it because that's not China. So, and this is how he's selling the argument. Listen to this, and I'm going to provide you the link and you guys read it for yourself. Here is what it says during an interview he had with some former journalist here in the US. It says, if China wanted to obstruct traffic in the Panama Canal, they could. That's a fact. That's what President Trump is raising. And we are going to address that topic. The dynamics cannot continue. End of quote. But since when China had any intentions of obstructing traffic in the Panama Canal? So what you are noticing here is the creation of fear. You got to create fear. So, and that's the same argument I can make about us here in the US. When Trump's saying, "Oh, I'm going to impose tariffs on other countries, so if they want to come and do business here, we give them incentives." Well, they will be out of their mind to do that, knowing that. Which, by the way, I didn't see your answer. I'm sorry, guys. I got sidetracked with I had to say a super sticker, but I asked you the question about where does the U.S. strength lies? And I did ask you guys to put in one word, where do you see it? Let me see if I could find it here. Divide and conquer, to a degree. Education, to a degree. Oh, tritone, you got it. T-tone, I'm sorry. T-tone, you got it, in the dollar. This is where the fear about BRICS, this is why Trump has been told, you're going to have to aim at BRICS. Sanction or threaten to sanction countries who will sidestep from using the dollar or transact in the dollar. Because where is our strength? Our strength is in the dollar. We control it. We sanction. That's all it is. So, Kiot 7E, you got the right answer. Nigerian warrior. Hoshia, Marco W, dollar. Hoshia, you say media. Media also plays a role into this. Rafael, you got it. It's the dollar. You guys understand now. And this is what I'm saying. All this is happening like it just whatever comes, we react to it. American foreign policy has always been reactionary for the last 34 years, at least in my own observation. And I digged back enough into the early 50s. So when I was doing my own research for my books, and I had to sort of dig into understanding the trajectory of American foreign policy. I've always felt comfortable saying for the last 30, 40 years, we haven't had any foreign policy strategy whatsoever. This is why Narco Rubio now is using the term strategy. Strategy. That's why you're going to be hearing a lot of his conversation. I don't know if this guy is going to last the entire term. Some people I talked to who are in the know told me it is unlikely, but nothing sure yet. So what do you guys think? Will he last the entire term? Or will he resign? Or forced to? Oh, Alstalokin, you said earlier, lying. Yes, it's true. We do lie a lot. It's not a laughing matter, but it's, I see what you mean. So let me see what you guys Yeah, and this is why I feel where we are going. Oh, Rafael, once again, man, appreciate you. Birdie told me that the big meeting gonna be Putin, Trump, and Xi, and everything will be discussed. Trump wants a pause for his 4 years, no war. It makes more sense. But on the other hand, Rafael, if he wants no war, why will he promote the idea of using military for taking over in Greenland? Why will he advocate for the use of force when it comes down to Panama? Why will he be forcing his way regarding the Gulf of Mexico? So, yeah, I see your point. I see your point, Rafael, and it makes perfect sense because literally, when you think about the only countries that matters in today's geopolitical landscape, those are the one you mentioned. Those three: U.S., Russia, China. That's it. And even if I'm not putting them in any order, by the way, guys. So, but if I am to put them in the order, it will be China, U.S., Russia, because that's all it matters. So I see the logic of your arguments. Thank you so much once again. Appreciate you. And this is what I'm saying. There is no there is no strategy, rather, when we react to events as we move forward. So what Mr. Trump is doing, and of course surrounding himself with yes, ma'am, yes, sir, that is going to be. He'll say whatever, and they have to bow to that. Will there be anybody who's going to say, no, sir, you are wrong on this? I have my doubts. Because their interest has never been in serving the American people. Their interest has always been into the political career and get involved in a corruption. Until you fix that issue of corruption, nothing is going to be resolved. And if it were up to me, you all know how will I handle corruption. No exception. On a Sunday afternoon. Yeah. Sometimes you have to do the unpopular things to fix the problems. I see it perfectly when it comes down to corruption. And mark my word, once you do it for a month or two and you put in some, everybody will get the message, because the outcome will not be pretty if you get involved in corruption. There is no exception. Of course, it has to be justified. You can't just settle score with the people and do that. Yeah, that's how I will do it. But again, that's me. So, because that will give incentive to people to think twice. Do you want to get involved in that? Then you know what the outcome is going to be. You know the price you're going to end up paying. So, yeah. And that is where I see that's all I wanted to share with you guys, just to highlight to you. So I'm going to recap everything here and just sign off and go work on my other topics that I am preparing for you. Thank you, by the way, guys, for your responding to the survey questions that I put and all that. So I'm very, very, very grateful. And also, I want to thank the supporters for who already starting buying me tea for the Asia trip, including I'm gonna log in here quickly, if you bear with me, guys. It's because it's the right things to do, and you all know this. Here is the link for those who wants to support the trip, the channel. All right, let me bear with me here, guys. I just have to enter the code. All right. Yeah, I'm looking at it. Oh, American Citizen, thank you so much for buying me so many cups of teas. Hanging G, thank you so much. Mona Y, thank you very much for your support for my upcoming. Hanging G, once again. By the way, Hanging G, I really tip my hat to you, man, because you said in one of your communication about a month and a half ago or 2 months, and I still have that comment. I saved that stuff. You wrote, and I'm paraphrasing here, I will support your trip to Asia next time. Please keep that link open. And indeed, and I'm not bragging here about Hanging G. Hanging G almost buys me tea every day, every other day, in support for the Asia trip. So man true to his word. Because like I always say, like what Marcus Aurelius said, watch what a man does, not what he says. So I'm very, very grateful. And to all others who've been supporting the channel, I'm very, very grateful, or supporting the Asia trip, that is. So for the, let me just put it for you in the chat box, because you won't be able to click on it from, there we go, that's the one. So, and those who wants to support the channel, I'm very, very grateful for your support here. So anyway, let me wrap up here. So suffice it to say, now we're going to be looking at whether Canada is going to move forward with really its threat to impose sanctions on $106 billion of US goods. So there's a lot of American goods that goes to Canada and vice versa. The countries, but to me, it's not about all that. It is about whether Canada will take stand when it comes down to the geopolitical realm by not following the US blindly like the Europeans. That is where the key. I am yet to see what the Europeans are going to do, how they're going to respond, if any. I mean, you look at the UK's economy, where it is today. You look at where Germany is shutting down. It is, to my knowledge now, that China purchased a Volkswagen, the automaker. And please, if anybody knows the recent information about this topic, please share it with the community. But to me, that tells the story right there. France is gone. Italy is trying to beg the Saudis for money for some projects. Spain, Portugal, Netherlands, it's a basket case. So what's left? You have the Eastern European countries, mainly Serbia and Hungary, that they are moving forward economically. Why? Because they are not following what the EU is doing. So it will be interesting dynamics to see as we move forward. And I am going to be working on some topics for you guys. Probably we'll do a survey, get your feedback on which topic you want, and I will, if once I get the indication where the majority what the majority wants, I'll go ahead and start composing and researching and getting the information together. So anyway, that's all I have to say right there on the dots for the hour. I greatly appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate the civil discourse in the chat box. You know, you guys, I count on your help. There is no one else. I'm by myself here. So, and please, by the way, hit the like button. We are almost 3,000 subscribers short of hitting the 100,000 mark. So I would greatly appreciate if you can help me out with that. Just share it with people you know. Ask them to subscribe. I will. I don't know why YouTube is doing it very slow, but again, it's something to me I've learned over the years. If a battle is not winnable, don't fight it. It's not worth fighting for. Save your energy for something better. So, but anyway, I would greatly appreciate it, guys, if you can just hit the like button and share it with others. So, and once we hit that 100,000, it's because of you, not me. It's the community. Is the community. So, and I'll do this for the community. And you all know this by now, guys. I don't sugarcoat things. That's not my nature. I'll tell you the way it is. The way it is. It's just not me. It's not me. I can't pretend. I can't pretend. When I say I'm committed to you guys, as far as doing the research, I spend my days sometimes just digging for information for you. Why? Because I believe in the community. You know, tomorrow I'm going to check out. You know, it might be just a memory. It used to be this guy, Dr. O, he was really into what he was doing. Because if you don't have love, if you don't have passion, if you don't have a drive in what you do, then don't do it. If you're doing it just out of obligation, it loses its meaning. You do things because you want to do it. You know, I love teaching. Why? Because it's part of my personality. And this is why I am pushing, wanted to go and teach in China. Why China? I don't know. That's how I feel. It is what it is. All right, guys. I hope you have a great evening. The rest of the evening, enjoy it. Be safe. And I look forward to seeing you next time. As always, remember, geopolitics impact your daily life in more ways than one. Till next time, guys. Bye-bye.